Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. Huge Week 7 matchup in the NFC South. The Bucs go to Tampa to take on the Buccaneers. And I think my biggest key in this game is, can Desmond Ritter and this Falcons offense put together a decent showing on the road? It's something that they really haven't done over the course of his tenure as the starting quarterback. And it's not like he's been fantastic at home, but he's been significantly better. This Bucs defense is legit. It's just I don't just as good as the Falcons. Is that fair to say? It's right up to par. It's a borderline top 10 unit. And they're gonna have to score some points to win this game. And I think it's gonna be an ugly game, but they gotta at least get 20. Can they get 20 on the road against a good Bucs defense?
Yeah, you said the Bucs travel to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucs, but I know what you mean, the Falcons. This is as much of a must-win as you really could have in a Week 7 matchup. Not many Week 7 matchups are must-wins in the NFL because you can get into the postseason with a sub-500 record as long as you win your division games. But if you look in terms of percentages and numbers and analytics like that, the Falcons' odds of making the playoffs jump by like 10% if they win this game, and they fall by 10%. So a potential 20-point swing if they lose or win this game. The Bucs have kind of had the Falcons' number in recent years. I think they've won like the last 6 of 8. And one of the ones they lost was at the end of 2022 when they rested all their starters. It was one of Desmond Ritter's only wins back in the end of 2022.
He beat Tom Brady.
Yeah, he did beat Tom Brady, and a lot of that could be attributed to Tom Brady and the Bucs just going all in. But the meat and potatoes of this Bucs team is still there. The offensive line is not even close to as good as it once was. But like you said, the defense is still very, very good. They got guys. They still have Mike Evans. They still have Chris Godwin, and Baker Mayfield has. It seems like the more people doubt Baker Mayfield, the better he plays. And when you give him credit and start kind of like inflating his ego a little bit, he starts to like play worse. So maybe we should tell Baker Mayfield this week how great he is. The old Bill Belichick, Tom Brady. He's a great guy. He's one of the best quarterbacks in this league. Because if you go out there and give him any sort of inch to kind of use his motivation, he's going to take it and run with it. Yeah, this is as big of a must-win as you could find in a Week 7 contest. Yeah, it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think the over-under is under 40. Scoring 20 points wins you this game, I think. I really do think that Desmond Ritter has struggled on the road. He's coming off back-to-back 300-yard performances. Not that really matters. Basically, the Falcons' run offense has been suboptimal, inefficient. So the Falcons have been forced to throw it because, at least they're throwing it against those 8-man boxes, those loaded boxes that we've seen. So at least that is something we could take away. And I spoke on it earlier in the week yesterday. If you haven't seen it, go check it out on the YouTube Sports KTL. But Desmond Ritter's game, I know everybody's going to get hung up on the interceptions, as we should. I'm not going to excuse that. It's you can't, excuse the most critical plays in the game. But if we could somehow forget those games, we'd be having a much different, those throws, we'd have a much different conversation today talking about Desmond Ritter's just had the best game of his career against the Texans. Now he has another one, another impressive one against the Commanders. Like, is he starting to turn the corner? He throws a couple of bad interceptions, inexcusable, indefensible interceptions that, you've got to clean up. But Desmond Ritter had an all right game, I guess. Again, it's hard to comprehend all the good and just exclude the bad. You can't do that. You got to take them both. And the bad was so bad that it killed the Falcons' chances of winning this game. But the first drive, I've talked about it a lot. That was one of the best drives I've ever seen Desmond Ritter orchestrate. He looked decisive. The run game wasn't supporting him at all. It didn't matter. He knew where he was going. As soon as his back foot hit the drop, the ball was out of his hand. Even if the receiver wasn't out of his break, the ball was in the air, on target. It looked really good and capped it off with a beautiful throw to Kyle Pitts in the end zone, a ball that only Kyle Pitts could have caught. I'm feeling cautiously optimistic. And once again, the Falcons defense is going to have to carry the load. That's been the case all year, and it's not going to change in Week 7 in Tampa. Hopefully, Baker Mayfield gets a little bit too big for his britches, thinks he's the man, tries to make a few throws that his arm can't cash. And then Falcons make him pay. Again, got to protect the ball. I mean, you turn the ball over 3 times, you're not going to win a lot of those games.
Yeah, I think what's funny about Ritter's performance is that it was very Taylor Heinicke-esque. Like, that's kind of what we would expect from Taylor Heinicke. Now, Heinicke's a guy who can throw the ball. He can grip it and rip it, but he's going to put a lot of balls in harm's way. He's going to turn the ball over. There's going to be some highs. There's going to be some lows. And I think that's kind of what we've seen over the last 2 weeks, which to me is more encouraging than what we've seen in the past, because at least he's gripping and ripping it and throwing it with a little bit of confidence. Now, obviously, we got to limit those turnover-worthy plays because, as I said yesterday, there could have been 1 or 2 more interceptions in there. I mean, he's got to be smarter with the ball and protect the ball. But the Falcons have gripped it and ripped it over the last couple of weeks, and a big thing is going to be establishing that run. The Bucs have a great run defense. They've had a great run defense for years. Are we going to see those stacked boxes? And I think they might feel like they have the confidence where they don't have to stack the box as often. So are the Falcons going to be able to take advantage of that on the ground and open up this ground game a little bit more, force them to bring more men in the box? Or are they going to have struggles? Because if they can't run the ball, and I don't think the Bucs are going to immediately commit to 7-8 man boxes off the rip like we've seen other teams do. If they can't run the ball against those lighter boxes, it's going to be a long day for this Falcons offense. And I think that's what kind of worries me in this matchup. But like you said, as long as you have that Falcons defense on your side, you feel like you got a chance to win. I mean, they've kept them in every game. It doesn't matter how good the team is. They've done enough. I expect them to do the same against a Baker Mayfield-led Bucs. And it could very well come down to which one of these quarterbacks, Ritter or Mayfield, doesn't turn the ball over. Don't make those huge mistakes, because the defense is going to keep you in games. As long as you don't make those huge mistakes, they are going to give you a chance to win in the fourth quarter. And then hopefully you can make those plays in the fourth quarter, like we've seen Ritter do a couple times this year.
Yeah, I think the Bucs they don't have to, stack the box to stop the Falcons' rushing attack. The Falcons' rushing attack has taken a step back this season. There's no doubt about that, which is crazy because you add Bijan Robinson to it. This got to be studied because doesn't make any sense whatsoever. One of the most effective rushing attacks. Listen, I guess Marcus Mariota added a certain dynamic that defenses have to respect. But even outside those, quarterback draws and the quarterback zone reads and things like that, this offensive line, I think, has just really struggled in that facet. And they've stepped it up in recent weeks in pass pro. But the Bucs aren't going to have to sell out. They've got enough bodies. Devin White and Levante David are arguably the best linebacking duo in football. Vita Vea is still there. I mean, Shaq Barrett's still there. They still got guys that, they're fearful up there. What's scary to me is Levante David potentially, let's say the run game doesn't get going. It might not be great. We're going to have to rely on Desmond Ritter. And Levante David pretty much can effectively take Bijan Robinson out of this game. That's how good he is. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's arguably been, the best linebacker of this decade outside of maybe Luke Kuechly. And he can absolutely take away your best weapon, whether it be a tight end or a running back. We know that Kyle Pitts isn't fully healthy. And Bijan Robinson is as good as any running back when it comes to running routes. But Levante David is as good as any linebacker, and maybe ever, in coverage. So that potentially scares me that, Ritter's not going to have those kind of safety valves, those easy check down throws. And he's going to have to, like he did last week. And a testament to this Falcons offense that they did push it down the field last week. They missed a shot play on Van Jefferson, but it was there. It was certainly there. They're going to have to do it again. They're going to have to push it down the field. There's probably not going to be a lot of yards after the catch. They're going to have to grind this one out. This is not, well, we all have to grind them out. With Desmond Ritter under center, we're never going to blow out a team. That's just how this team has been built. And that's going to be true this week, too. They're going to have to grind this one out. It's going to be a close game either way. I see the Bucs are 2.5-point favorites, under set at 38.5. Yeah, 20 points wins you this game.
Yeah, Levante David has been terrorizing the Atlanta Falcons for damn near a decade. And I think he's probably the most underrated. I don't know where you put him in terms of greatness, in terms of the best linebackers of the last decade. But as far as underrated, I think he's got to be number one, because we play him twice a year, and you hear everything about Fred Warner, and you've heard things about Bobby Wagner, and you've heard things about Kuechly, and you've heard things about all these linebackers across the league that are amazing. But Levante David, year after year, if you play him enough, If you play the Bucs once a year, you recognize his presence. And maybe even Devin White being there is kind of taking a little bit even more of the spotlight off of him because you're like, oh, they've got this great linebacking duo. And it's like, no, it's Levante David and it's Devin White. And I know Devin White has the high draft pick and everything, but Levante David has been the leader of that defense for a decade, and he's been terrorizing the Falcons. So I'm glad you brought him up because that's a guy that I think they re-signed him to like a 1-year deal this offseason. And I was like, dang it. Like I was hoping this would be where the Bucs disperse, right? Everybody goes, Levante's like, all right, Brady's gone. I'm going to go to a different contender and blah, blah, blah. Nope. He stays in Tampa Bay. Would have loved to see that guy outside of the division because he is a game changer on the defensive side of the ball. And you don't see too many of those at the linebacker position these days. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk a little bit more Braves, off-season needs. I just did an article on the site. We're going to rank them.